fellow's really become, with the new Congress, one of these galvanizing figures that gets, a lot of attention, an iconic figure. He's pretty modest. I'm sure he doesn't sort of say that about himself. His name is Chip Roy, Texas Republican Congressman, House Budget Committee, House Judiciary Committee, House Rules Committee. Very influential on all of these committees. Congressman, great to have you.
Great to be on this morning, Neil. Hope you're doing well.
I am, sir. Let's get an update on, obviously you have this debt ceiling, and I don't know when we hit the brink or whatever, but you've got some ideas, and Republicans have pushed that you don't want to raise that ceiling unless you address some of these spending problems like now. Where are we on that?
Well, I was just listening to Doug, and he's a friend. I've known him a long time, but I disagree with this concept in Washington of, well, we just have something we have to do, so you got to go get it done no matter what. That's the problem. That's why we are where we are. We've been empowering the executive branch for too long to do exactly what he just described, which is make unilateral decisions without congressional approval. Easy money, free money, basically given to the American people, with $5 trillion then of COVID money thrown out into the middle of it. We put gasoline on a fire, and we got exactly what we got: runaway inflation. And then you've got the Fed trying to pump the brakes and jacking up interest rates so fast. Now you've got a problem. We are staring down the barrel of potential stagflation. You talked earlier about a possible recession while we've got, inflation still going up and high. So what is our job in Washington? Our job is to actually stop the madness. So we put forward a plan to say, maybe, just maybe, we could live on pre-COVID level spending while still holding our defense where it needs to be to go challenge China and, check Putin and have a strong place in the globe. And then zero in and focus in the long term on what we need to do on mandatory spending. But step one is to stop spending money we don't have and return that bureaucratic state to pre-COVID levels. We think that's a responsible step. The other thing you got to do is you got to get economic growth. You talk about this. You cannot solve this crisis if we don't get economic growth. And Biden is looking at 0.6% growth. We need the 3.5%, and 4% under Reagan and Clinton.
In the meantime, to your point at the beginning of your remarks, Congressman, you talked about inflation and all the problems therein. Yet I noticed in some of your plans, and God bless you for putting them out. I mean, people can disagree with your approach, but at least you're giving ideas. Freezing discretionary spending at these levels for the next 10 years. In an inflationary environment, that's actually, in real terms, cutting those levels that by the 10th year are dramatically hacked. I know what the goal is there, but is it realistic?
Well, I think it's realistic. I mean, look, again, all we're talking about doing is taking that non-defense discretionary spending, go to pre-COVID levels, and then we can allow for 1%-ish growth over 10 years. Look, that's not going to be what it is in 5 years, but we need to do it for the next 2 years to reset the table, reset the baseline, and frankly, and this is the important part, Neil, constrain Leviathan. The problem we've got for economic growth is the bureaucracy and the regulators getting in the way. Free up energy, free up all of the American people, get rid of the NEPA constraints that are stopping our ability to go create growth at the 3.5% and 4% levels we need to grow out of this massive debt situation. You know and I know. We talk about these world threats, China and Russia and the Middle East, cartels in the Western Hemisphere. We're now at debt levels that were after World War II. People talk about this being like pre-World War II. Well, man, we're already after World War II in terms of our relative amount of debt to GDP. We can't sustain that. That's driving inflation, causing weakness, causing doubt. Let's get some sanity. That's all we're saying. Return to normalcy and common sense.
Yeah, and people can argue with some of the particulars. Some of them, you raise your eyebrows, you look at the individual ones and all of this. But the president's idea is mainly to, add taxes to the mix is something I know that's not at all a starter for Democrats or for Republicans, I should say. Some of your spending freezing levels are going to be a non-starter for Democrats. So I'm wondering, Congressman, where you see this going and whether the two sides will push this to a potential default.
Well, look, as you know, we're not going to default. The question here is going to be whether President Biden chooses to kind of play, roulette, with the American economy. We're not going to do that. We're going to drive forward, and we're going to put out already. We're leaning into this. We think we have a plan that will work.
Well, he would blame you,
table.
wouldn't he? Well, I'm sorry, Congressman. Wouldn't he blame you, not specifically, to say, all right, you were adamant about those spending cuts. He wouldn't agree to them. So he is not going to accept that. That means we get to that level at the debt ceiling, at the point of no return, and we do default. How do we avoid that?
Well, we avoid that by the president doing what he said he would do, which is sit down with us and have a conversation. He's staying over here saying, yeah, I'm not going to do anything. We're going to have a clean debt ceiling increase. That's just not going to happen. The American
Will it
people
be
didn't
like
send us to
2011
Washington to
then,
keep doing the same
Congressman?
thing.
I keep rudely interrupting you, but just to make a point, in 2011 with Barack Obama, there was an agreement to, go ahead, raise the debt ceiling, address some of this spending that Republicans were pushing at the time. It was kind of a way to have each side get a little bit of what they wanted. Now, in the middle of all of that, though, you had S&P, the ratings agency, downgrade our debt anyway, saying that the process was essentially a sham. What if something like that happens?
Well, that would be up to S&P. But look, what happened after that? Of course, American bonds and the ratings rebounded after that. The fact is, no one is going to bring this to the brink who is not named Joe Biden. He's the president of the United States, and he's the one who has to decide how he's going to proceed here. We're putting forward credible spending restraint as one step of many that needs to occur for the American people to have strength and belief in their economy. Look, our job here isn't to keep doing the same old. Look, Neil, we can't keep doing it. We're $32 trillion in debt. We're spending money we don't have. We have a massively increased bureaucracy that's constraining American economic productivity. You know, I know, and everybody watching this knows, we have a responsibility to stop raising the credit card limit without making changes. The only one that's really pushing back on that is Joe Biden and a handful of leftist Democrats who are more interested in pushing a radical leftist, woke DEI agenda in the House than working with us to try to constrain the executive branch.
Well, I've got you. My producer's going to kill me, but I do love talking to you. You have endorsed Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for president, assuming he's going to run. You heard, obviously, what President Trump's been saying about DeSantis and a lot of colorful language to go with it. Do you think Donald Trump is hurting the party?
Well, look, I've known Ron DeSantis for about a decade. He's a good man. I support Ron DeSantis. What he did in Florida, winning by 1.5 million votes, 62% of Hispanic voters, 50% of single female voters, growing the economy there, causing people to move to Florida. I think America wants a new generation of leaders. I think America recognizes it's time to get past the baby boomers, with all due respect to my parents' generation. We need to have new leadership and somebody who will energize us carrying forward. Look, you don't take shots at someone you're not a little worried about. I think Ron DeSantis offers us a really good direction for the country.
Do you think those are cheap shots on the part of President Trump?
The president's going to run the campaign that he's going to run, and Governor DeSantis will run the campaign he will. I think that will play out over the next year, and I'm proud to stand alongside Governor DeSantis.
You know, that's an excellent answer, Congressman, because it's a non-answer, but it was a brilliant answer. It's very good.
It's a perfectly straight-on answer about my great respect for what Governor DeSantis has done. And look, that's where people want us to lead the country forward. They don't want us to be getting in this endless circle of shooting at things. Governor DeSantis last night hosted a bunch of veterans, men and women in uniform at the governor's mansion. He's leading Florida. I think that's what the American people want to see.
Got it. Congressman, great catching up with you. Thank you for your time.
God bless, Neil.